Well, here we go. Dee fucking Snider. It only took 157 episodes to get him, but he is here today, and it's a little surreal to have him on my little show. I remember as a kid seeing his music videos that are obviously legendary, but I also really loved when he stood up to politicians who wanted to censor music in the 80s. And now that censorship is back, I'm glad Dee is still here to talk about it. And he also has a new record coming out on July 30th called Leave a Scar. And if you're listening to this after July 30th and it's already out, otherwise you can pre-order the deluxe wooden version now. And this was a really fun interview with Dee because he's such an entertainer. And he's a singer, but he also acts and he does radio, so he knows how to tell stories. And I love his energy. He made me laugh a lot. He's very genuine and real, and I think that's why he's still around today and making music and doing TV appearances and the radio show and all the other stuff that he does, because he's so entertaining and he's so genuine and likable. So here it is, without further ado, my interview with one of my heroes, Dee Snider. Welcome, Dee fucking Snider. I can swear on this. This is great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fucking great.
So we have a mutual connection. Jim Kaufman, he is your vocal coach, and he was a guest on my show.
Wait a minute. Jim Kaufman is my engineer.
Is that what you call? I thought he said he was a vocal coach. I thought that was his.
No.
Okay.
No. Jim Kaufman?
Yeah.
Jim Kaufman is a recording engineer, recorded my vocals for Leave a Scar.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I just called it the wrong thing. Sorry.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I do all my tracks at his house out here on the West Coast. And yeah, we do a lot of work together.
That's so, yeah. He said that you show up one time and you had your Cobra Kai jacket on.
Yes.
That is so awesome.
I'm the envy of so many walking down the street. Fortunately, I'm big and I'm tough, because I'm sure if I wasn't, somebody would steal it from me.
Is it the red? Is it a red one? It's got the logo and everything.
No, it's black.
Oh,
and it says hit first. Whatever. What is the
strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the back, and it's got the Cobra Kai logo on the front, but it's reversible, and it's a Miyagi-Do jacket on the other side.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Miyagi-Do jacket is first of all, it's beige, and the Cobra Kai jacket is black, and somehow, in many ways, the Miyagi-Do has become almost the bad guy in the Cobra Kai series.
Right? Yeah.
Which was what is so clever about the show.
Yes.
That it flips the script, and you come to understand Johnny Lawrence and see how he became who he is, and a series of unfortunate events, Lemony Snicket. But he became, that he's not a bad guy, and that the power went to what's his name's head, Danny's head, and he became, kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
So if they definitely flipped the script.
Yeah, no, that's right. So that's a great tangent to get. I love Cobra Kai. It's a great show. But for you, so your last album, For the Love of Metal, you wanted to end on a high note, but then 2020 happens. So now we got this new record, Leave a Scar, and it's produced by Jamie Josta, who is singer of Hatebreed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about it. I mean, I've heard a couple of the songs are available now, and there's Silent Battles. That one's about depression. The song She is about that's about your wife. And then but the song I Gotta Rock Again. You say in that one, I gotta rock, I survived, be advised, gonna rock till I die. So it sounds like you're never gonna retire.
Well, I had a lot of realization, I'll get rid of this gum. Because it's easier to talk. I can't chew gum and talk at the same time.
I thought you would know this working in radio. Isn't this like
I know. It's yeah. So I really thought that I was retired, and then the state of the world, basically the world shit the bed on every level.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah, and I realized that I am one of those voices for the voiceless. That over the years I've positioned myself as being that outspoken guy who can say and will say what others won't. And so just because I'm very content and blessed and living happily ever after, I've been through a lot of shit, but I got to say, I'm in a really good place right now. Doesn't mean that everybody is, and that people don't need Dee Snider to speak up. So I had true inspiration to bring me back to the process. And also, I Gotta Rock Again was this odd moment in the middle of COVID where that thought just popped in my head. I gotta rock again. And I chuckled because very Dee Snider title, the guy who brought you Bad Boys of Rock and Roll, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, I Want to Rock, I Believe in Rock and Roll, and on and on and on and on. I gotta rock again. Okay, so and I said, but how many people are feeling that exact thought right now? That same like, oh my God, this is like the second season of festivals and concerts that have been shut down. The stadium tour has been canceled for another year.
Mm-hmm.
Will all those participants still be alive next year? Who knows? But it was a real realization song. And I was speaking not just for myself, but on behalf of others as well.
Yeah. So then are you going to tour off this record? Or are you waiting until things settle down with COVID and stuff? Because like you said, this year's festivals are all canceled. So
yeah, there's some erratic. You may see a singular show here or there, an odd show. Matter of fact, I'm doing a live stream event for a live audience, tested and vaccinated, 1,000 strong. It's going to be on the 29th. And pretty excited. It's the day before the release of the new album,
right?
Playing new music, old music, and my first show in 2 years. So you go to metaldepartment.tv, metaldepartment.tv.
Okay.
But I'm sure if you just Google search Dee live feed 29th, and then if you can't watch the 29th, it will repeat for some time afterwards. But I hope people will check it out if you want some live and enjoy it. And I'm sure the audience is going to be very stoked.
Yeah.
I did a show with something called the Kings of Chaos. It's an all-star thing that Storm does. And we did one in New Mexico, and it was joyous. That's the only way I can describe it. The band, we were just like, I can't believe we're back playing, and the audience, the people who were there, because it was limited, it was outdoors, but still people were just so happy to be rocking, So if you got to rock again, check that out. But as far as touring, I know we'll be back to the new, whether it's a new normal where we're at to get vaccines or whatever, but it'll be behind us by 2022. And I think that's when festivals will open. And, I figure that the non-vaccinated will probably die off. So, one way or another, we'll be rocking again. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Non-vaccinated people, hey, it's your choice. I support your choice.
Well, and that's one of the songs, Time to Choose, on the new record. And you got George, I love this, Corpse Grinder is his middle name, Fisher of Cannibal Corpse. This is a cool duet. Like, this is heavy stuff.
Yeah. And people were stunned. It was, first of all, my idea. He's a death metal singer. And I didn't realize that nobody from my world, from the heritage rockers, classic, whatever you want to call us, old school, they don't even acknowledge death metal singing. And if they do, it's to mock it. My peers, make fun of it. That's not singing. That's Cookie Monster. I, thanks to my kids, am connected to all the metal communities and appreciate and respect the whole family of metal. And so I had the idea that it's a heavy song, bring them in on it. But Jamie Johnson was stunned when I said George Fisher. He was like, Corpse Grinder? like he thought maybe I knew somebody from the 70s named George Fisher. Maybe I had an accountant named George Fisher.
Accountant?
You want your accountant to sing on those? No, Corpse Grinder. So yeah, it's very heavy, very aggressive, but I didn't realize that nobody from my side reaches across the aisle, so to speak. And I'm glad I did, because I had somebody the other day said, I'm not a fan of that kind of singing, but it's kind of cool on your song, so, hey, there's room for all of us in this world.
For sure. Do you ever feel kind of like Santa Claus, like reaching out to these guys and saying, hey, you want to sing on my record? I mean, it must be surreal it's surreal for me talking to you right now. Like, do you ever feel like that you're just bringing people so much joy? That's gotta be one of the best things about your fame.
Apparently I am Santa Claus. I mean, you go back to me reaching out to Lizzie Hale to do that duet with me on the Christmas song, and she was stunned. I mean, I'd hung out. I'd hung out with her parents at one of her shows, and I know that she was raised on the old school stuff. But she was there's this degree of shock. apparently George Corpse Grinder got emotional. Apparently, like he couldn't. It turns out he's a fan.
Of course.
And he was stunned. He couldn't believe.
That's what I'm saying.
So I think we need more of that.
Yeah.
More of that community, more of that sense of family and less of this. That's not metal. This is metal. That's black metal. This is the hair metal. That's pop metal. This is death metal. It's dysfunctional family, and yes, some of the uncles are a little weird, but it's still blood. We all come from the same bloodline.
Absolutely, yeah. So your story is, I mean, we don't have time to go over your whole life story, and people should read your book, but I do find
you
it
actually have more time than you think.
Ooh,
I'm good to the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, because the bottom of the hour or the half hour?
Bottom of the half.
Okay.
A half hour.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Top of the hour, bottom of the half hour.
Yeah, I heard you say that they give you these 10-minute breaks, and you're like, I don't need a fucking break. I was like, that's cool.
I don't know that they want me to take a nap. I sit here at the computer, like fixing my lipstick. What am I doing? It's so important that I can't roll into the next one.
So back in the early days, you're working at this loading dock, and you tell everyone, I'm going to be a rock star. And then you joined Twisted Sister, but it was like you were kind of cocky, but then you said when you joined Twisted Sister, you felt like the outcast. Like they were the cool kids, and you weren't cool. How does that work?
Yeah. How that works is, first of all, I don't know if telling the world you're going to be a rock star when you're not even close is great self-motivation, or like the stupidest thing you could do in the world. Because I literally, because the guys I was on the loading dock were planning like a career in working in the department store, and I was like, I want to be a rock star. So that became A, my nickname, B, you would hear this. Rockstar to aisle 3. Some kid threw up. Like I became a joke as the rock star. That was my nickname. Yeah. But I showed them.
Yeah, for sure.
When I joined Twisted Sister, I mean, I approached them, and I was like, you need me. And when I got in the band, I was like full of like piss and vinegar, but I was full of myself. But then quickly I realized that I was like the low man on the totem pole, that the band, the guys that were there were older than me. They were longtime friends. They grew up together and stuff. They were from the city, from the Bronx, from Manhattan. I was from Long Island, and I was a dork, and they were like these cool guys. And suddenly I got like demoted. And it was real tough, like to sort of like, pick myself up by my own bootstraps, so to speak. And like say, I'm not going to allow that to define who I am, because they think they're cooler than me. But you know what? A, I was a dork. They were cool. B, they were cooler than me. And, but I didn't let that stop me from, taking over the entire band and controlling everything.
Well, yeah, and then obviously everyone knows the success Twisted Sisters had. I mean, that's the music videos, the albums, the concerts. It's legendary. But then the fascinating part to me is that when the band, they break up the first time, was there any? I know that you went through some troubles. Was there any other like musical projects on the horizon? Like, it kind of reminds me of like when Mark Hamill had that gap from Star Wars into like, now he does voiceover work and stuff. Like, I always think, wasn't there somebody reaching out to him wanting to do movies and TV? Was there any other musical people that reached out and said, hey, do you want to get another band together?
Well, after Twisted, I formed Desperado, and Desperado there's a bidding war. This was 87. Okay. And so there's a bidding war, and there was big money, and it was going to be like, the drummer, there was the original drummer for Iron Maiden, Clive Burr, rest in peace. Bernie Torme, who was the first to replace Randy Rhoads in Ozzy's band, rest in peace. They're dropping like fries, I tell you. Anyway, so it was a big deal. But then that record got shelved in a political battle within the record company. I moved on to Widowmaker. Widowmaker, now I was getting indie deals, and there's no real money in them, but I do a couple Widowmaker albums, and they fail. Then I get the notice one day, it was delivered by a messenger. It said, we're not doing what you're doing anymore. We don't sing like you, write songs like you, perform like you. We don't look like you. Nobody is interested in what you do. That practically was an announcement when grunge hit. And so that's when I stopped writing. That's when I started looking to pursue other avenues, but then none of them came after me. Other than I did get an agent who liked hearing my voice on Howard Stern and said you could do voiceover. So I started to pursue that.
And didn't Howard Stern help recognize your voice talent and encourage you to do the career in radio?
He championed me in such a big way. He was so there. He was the first person to recognize that I had value outside of Twisted. And when I always, people heard me on the radio, said, you'll be great in radio. But I found out you couldn't just go get a big radio show. You had to start at the bottom. And 25 years ago, I started with like a heavy metal show on Sunday nights, 10 to midnight on a little station on Long Island. But now I've been doing radio for 25 years. So people didn't pursue me. I had to go after them and always had to prove myself. People have always doubted that I had a song called Prove Me Wrong, because nobody's want to believe that I could do radio, could do TV, I could act, I could do movies, I could write screenplays, I could write books. I'm always having to prove myself, but I guess that's just my lot.
Yeah. So at what point, like after you declared bankruptcy and the band broke up and you were on that was like your lowest point. At what point do you feel like, okay, I'm back? Like maybe not necessarily Twisted Sister back, but like, I'm back. I'm doing good things. The radio shows, because I think at first you started the radios like at 10 to midnight or something, and you had to take the shit shift. And then obviously you grow all that stuff into successful things.
Yeah. It started, the voiceover career started to kick in. And then the radio career, I got a syndicated show, House of Hair, which has been on 25 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden I got a morning radio gig in a major market.
Oh.
And suddenly I'm the voice of MSNBC. And I'm not doing music, but I'm making huge money doing radio and voiceover work. And I'm back, baby. I'm back. And I've got, and then Celine Dion records my wife's Christmas song.
Oh, that's good.
And that sells, it's at 14 million copies worldwide now. This is the house St. Celine built, by the way. So, don't ever speak ill of Celine Dion in my presence. So all of a sudden, all these other avenues that I've been pushing, and I make Strangeland gets made, and you're back, baby. I'm back doing everything else.
Right. So then I like this, that you advise all these bands in the 90s like Lit and Biohazard and Guster, to parlay things. Don't just stick to music. Parlay that success into other things. And also, didn't you kind of help advise Skid Row to go heavier on their second album with Slave to the Grind instead of going a poppier direction?
Yeah, I did. Not that I had made the big mistake with Twisted of coming out with a lead track that was poppier and not realizing that the core audience of Twisted Sister, now that we had crossed over and become a commercial success, the core audience was questioning our credibility. And we should have come back like a sledgehammer. Instead, I came out with Leader of the Pack, and I tried to go and appeal, to everybody, and that was a mistake. So I had become friends with the Skid Row guys, and I was counseling them. And I said, your last single was I Remember You. Amazing record, but it was a ballad. I said, and right now, whether you know it or not, your fans are going, are they still metal? I said, you got to come out hard. And they came out with Slave to the Grind, followed by Monkey Business, and had a hugely successful record and secured their position until, Sebastian, and they broke up, but Sebastian left. But at the same time, that was sage advice. Nobody ever gave Twisted a hand up, and I didn't want to be those guys. There are a lot of people that have the feeling, hey, I paid my dues, so you pay your dues. Stumble around in the dark like an asshole for a while. No, if you can give somebody a piece of advice that'll guide them, help them, lift them up, it's kind of my MO.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you think that you talk about counseling Skid Row? Do you think you could mediate some sort of reunion with Sebastian and them? You're friends with all those guys, right?
I was wondering about that because I remembered that I kind of counseled them through the making of the second record, that Sebastian was already getting a little, and I'm friends with both sides.
Yeah.
But Sebastian was a little difficult. I remember he was at my house and staying with me, and he wouldn't answer the phone. he would only respond to faxes. So the band would have to, first of all, they didn't know where he was. So they have to find out where he was in order to get him a fax. And then they'd have to fax him a message that he'd respond to. Otherwise he wouldn't talk to him. And so I dude, that's not going to work. You got to tell your band. And I kind of counseled both sides and helped them get there. They thanked me in the credits.
Oh,
but unfortunately that didn't last forever. I mean, I love Sebastian and we're really good friends. I'm probably closer with him than the rest of the band, but still, we're lead singers, we're frontmen, we're damaged, and we can be difficult.
I love that. Well, you've had some infamous feuds over the years. I just read something the other day about the feud with Crocus, Mr. Paul Stanley. JJ told me last week there was a feud with Tom Werman. So how do you handle those kinds of things at this point in your career? Like, do you try and reach out and squash those things? Do you just let it go and not think about it? Or do you still hold a grudge and use that to motivate you?
I use my platform to speak of them, and then I dead them. So
wow.
They can't respond.
That is a great answer.
I talk and I get all this press. Dee Snider says blah, blah, blah. And then they try to say, well, Dee Snider, and I just, no, I have no reaction. I don't retweet it. I don't acknowledge it. I pretend it doesn't happen. I mute it. And then they get no, I don't give them any more juice than that, because for a lot of them, it's become their claim to fame. It's all they got is that Dee Snider said something, like, because their careers are like in the shitter. So, Mr. Hooster, like, what the fuck is that? That was a band? Yeah. That was actually a band?
Oh, this is gold, man. This is great stuff. So you had a feud with JJ, and then you squashed it. And he's going to write about it in the book. I haven't read the book. It's not out yet. But you said, you went on record as saying you weren't a nice guy in the 80s. You were kind of narcissistic. So what changed? Like, were you humbled after the band broke up and everything ended? Or
Excuse me. When did I ever say I'm only kind of narcissistic? I never use that adjective to qualify it.
I'm sorry. You were totally narcissistic.
Totally narcissistic, total asshole. I made people miserable, and I realize it, and retrospectively I feel terrible about it, because the people who, my band, my wife, my family members, I mean, people who love me the most and were there for me the most, and I made them miserable in the 80s. I was a dick. But I feel better now, and I've tried to make amends like an alcoholic, and I think I have. My wife's still with me and forgives me. She says the encore is great. She says the encore is great.
Well, that's amazing. She stuck with you during those tough times.
Unbelievable. I mean, I nearly fucked it up a bunch of times, and that's the thing that's amazing about having a person like Suzette in your life is, I met her when I was nothing. She was with me. And supportive, costumes, makeup, hair, the Bone logo. I just pointed to the originals on the wall over there.
Love that logo.
Yeah. And all Suzette. And then I just turned into a complete asshole and made her life miserable. And we went through tough times, but somehow we made it together. Then I lost everything. And I didn't, just to show you, I didn't think for a second that she would leave me. And there was never a thought in her mind. She just went back to work in a salon. She had never worked in a salon before, but she did hair. So she said, okay, I can work and while we figure this out. And so she's just always been there for me through thick and thin. And
you've been there too. You didn't leave her when you got famous or anything.
No, I mean, and I made, there's a handful of very wise decisions I made. And one was you find the one. And even though, it precluded me from partaking in some of the joys of rock stardom, I may have given that up, but as a result, I've got a 45-year relationship, a person who I trust and who's by my side through it all, and during, as somebody was asking me before, it was a time where I was just flat broke. And like I said, nobody's buying what I'm selling. I'm starting over completely, and I'm married. I got 3 kids, but I had created such an oasis that, as terrible as things were in my business life, I'd come home and it was just nothing but joy in our rented house with these kids and this wife, these people who love me. So these were wise choices I made. Thankfully, because I made some bad ones too.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you've done so much movie and TV work too. The cameos, I love this, like Howard Stern movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Cobra Kai. Is there one that's your favorite? Is there one that sticks out to you as one of your favorites?
Well, Cobra Kai. I mean,
that was awesome.
It'll be on my tombstone. Here lies Dee Snider, the most badass rocker ever, Johnny Lawrence. Okay, so I mean, to be proclaimed that's
pretty cool.
On a show that had 75 million people view it so far around the world. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I just spoke in front of 90 seventh graders about censorship, but I was there because they knew me from Cobra Kai.
That is awesome.
You know?
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden there's this renewed, it's like a calling card with a whole new generation. And the show happened, I think I told you, or maybe I didn't, because I've been doing so many interviews and a lot of people ask me about this, that literally I became friends with Johnny Lawrence, with Billy Zabka, doing conventions, and the show wasn't even big. He told me, hey, we got picked up by Netflix. They're going to release a series. Like, great. He said, you want to do a cameo on the new? I'm like, hey, yeah, man, cool. And I know Ralph. So it was just like, hey, this is fun. You know, I don't tell Ralph or Billy I'd never seen an episode.
Really?
Until I was on the show. I said, all right, I'm talking to Billy, and he's assuming. When I got there, I didn't know who Miguel was. I didn't know what he was doing. The kid in a wheelchair. What the F? You know, I was like, what kind of show is this? And
no, it's a great show.
So I said, honey, we got to binge watch this thing before they air because I don't have the heart to tell anybody that I've never seen the show. But it was just Billy's a friend and Ralph is a friend. They're like, hey, want to be on this? Great, cool.
That's awesome. So yeah, you said you spoke about censorship. So that we got to talk about that, because that's like, I was like a little kid and I saw you speaking in front of the politicians, and I was like, that is fucking awesome. So I feel like it's come back full circle now. It's like censorship is a thing now. I was like, didn't we settle this in the 80s with Dee Snider? Why is stuff being canceled? Explain this.
On this note, we're going to have to end the interview, but
okay.
But because I got to move on. But
sure. Oh, sorry.
We have time. I told you at the bottom of the hour, so we have a few minutes. So, censorship has always existed.
Yeah,
just people got to understand that it's never gone away. It's just the first time somebody said or did something, somebody else said you can't do that. Okay, trust me. There's always, and it goes, and throughout time, creatives, artists, people have pushed back on censorship and try to push the boundaries. And the people who were behind censorship used to be very puritanical. They like would give an inch, and they give, and you can't go here. And then the creatives kept pushing. And that's our job. Is the creatives is to push, and the censors, their job apparently is to push back. And they keep drawing lines, and we keep stepping over the line. It goes on and on and on and on. The odd thing is the censorship never went away. The pendulum has swung, and it's gone from being a right-wing conservative puritanical thing to a liberal, hypersensitive, kind of
social justice
world, social consciousness. And not that I'm not, but, and like, you can't say that because that hurts a feeling. This makes people feel, feel put upon, and this is insulting. It's coming very much from the left now, which is very odd. Mm-hmm. And in the writing process for this new album, and I hadn't written since '95, I caught myself and checked myself going, oh, I don't know, can I say that? And the louder Dee Snider voice said, "Are you fucking kidding me? You're the guy. Can you say that?" I'm like, "Do you remember?
Yeah,
you fought for this,
right?"
But I hated that it's crept in, that we're questioning, like, are we hurting feelings all over the place? And it's become, oh my God, in an effort to be kinder and gentler, we've become just. Ugh. Yeah. So it's never went away. The odd change is that it's become, like I said, coming more from the left than it is from the right now.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll let you go. Just one quick last thing. Is there a charity that you want to give a shout out to here at the end? I know you work with homeless veterans.
Yeah. I've been trying to give back because I got a lot to make up for from the 80s. So, I saw on Family Feud, we won $25,000. My family for the National Coalition for Homeless Vets.
Okay.
The idea that there are veterans on the street. I mean, when my dad came home from war, there was the GI Bill, which helped him get a house, and they gave college educations. I do not understand how we can have veterans on the street. So there's that. There's also a charity that I've been involved with. It's a very small charity called Melissa's Wish. A girl I knew died of cancer, and her dying bed, she told her parents, if you do anything in my memory, do it for the caregivers, because they are the ones left holding what's left of their lives. He says to see people, the caregivers, economically destroyed because of the sicknesses their family members have gone through, losing their jobs, their homes, and a loved one on top of it all. They just suffered through a year or two of just brutal, slow deaths, and then the loved one moves on, and then they have to pick up the pieces.
Right.
I never even thought about that till Melissa Blackford said that to us, and we formed a charity called Melissa's Wish, and we raise money to help the caregivers get back on their feet after losing everything.
Right. Okay. I'll put all that stuff in the notes along with your new album out July 30th, Leave a Scar. People can pre-order it now in that wooden box. It's really cool. The deluxe set. All right.
Yeah. We got some great incentives, and check out the live stream on the 29th at metaldepartment.tv. Real rock and roll live and in your face.
Okay. Thanks, Dee. I really appreciate it.
Great talking to you, man.
All right.
Take
See you
care.
later. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Dee Snider. I keep saying it, and I still can't believe it, but Dee Snider of Twisted Sister has been on my show, and I'm very grateful that he did come on the show. I loved all his stories and his opinions. And again, I think he's just so real and genuine, and I think that's at least part of the reason he's so popular. Make sure to check out his latest record, Leave a Scar. And again, depending on when you're listening to this, it's either out now or it will be out soon, and you can pre-order the deluxe wooden box edition, which is really cool. And I put the links to his website and his live stream in the show notes, along with the charities he mentioned and my website. So check out some of the episodes I've done. If you want to hear more about Twisted Sister, check out my interview with JJ French. We talked about Skid Row in this episode, so if you want to hear my interview with Rachel Bolin, you can check that out. I've also interviewed Stephen Piercy from Rat, John Karabi, and many, many more. So if you want to support the show, your activity on social media and YouTube with your likes, comments, and shares, that helps me out quite a bit. And if you want to go that extra mile, you can write me a review wherever you listen. So thank you so much to Dee for coming on the show. Thank you all for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And remember to shoot for the moon.